Usually when you hear the phrase impact statement, it brings to mind this glossy corporate PDF.
Well, absolutely. I
Yeah.
mean, you picture bullet points, action verbs, maybe a pie chart or two justifying some massive project.
Yeah, exactly. But today's deep dive takes us in the exact opposite direction. We are actually looking at this really cryptic, self-addressed digital sticky note.
Right. It requires us to sort of reverse engineer this very specific and honestly highly relatable workflow. It is like the ultimate minimalist document.
It really is. So let's unpack this. The document we're examining is just a single Gmail PDF, and the sender is this account called Beta Account.
Specifically, I think it's business.take.1.1994@gmail.com.
Right, right. And the recipient is, well, themselves. The initial email goes out on Tuesday, March 31st, 2026, and the PDF shows it was later printed or saved on April 6th.
Emailing yourself a note is such a common thing, but it's kind of a bizarre habit when you actually think about it.
It is. It's like putting your car keys inside the refrigerator on top of your lunch. You're just forcing your future self to trip over the item you don't want them to forget.
Exactly, yeah. You're setting a trap for yourself.
But I have to push back a little here, because I wonder about the risk. Like, why use an email inbox for this? Doesn't that risk the note just getting buried under, like, 50 promotional emails by noon?
What's fascinating here is that an inbox isn't just passive storage. You know, it's an active triage zone for most people.
Oh, interesting. As opposed to, say, a dedicated notes app.
Right, because a calendar alert just dismisses with a quick swipe, and a notes app requires you to proactively remember to actually open it.
That makes total sense.
For most professionals, the inbox is a to-do list that constantly demands attention.
Hmm.
So by sending an email to themselves, they deliberately insert this thought into their daily workflow.
So it's almost like an anti-archiving strategy. You're intentionally clogging your own pipes, so you're forced to deal with the blockage.
Yeah, exactly. You bypass the whole out-of-sight, out-of-mind trap entirely. It becomes this unavoidable, time-stamped reminder right at the very top of your attention economy.
Okay, the urgency of putting this right in their inbox totally makes sense. But here's where it gets really interesting. When you open that urgent email, the contents don't seem to match the delivery method at all.
Oh, not at all.
Right, you'd expect a drafted statement. But instead, the subject line simply reads, JJ22, your impact statement.
And the body is even more sparse.
It really is. Sent bright and early at 5:43 a.m., the body's just two lines, literally one words, and then two, pick arrow.
Which, tells us a lot about cognitive load. If we connect this to the bigger picture, one, words two. Pick arrow, pick rates like a really stripped-down structural framework.
Like an outline, basically.
Yeah, exactly. It's likely a high-level outline for a presentation or maybe a literal workflow process translating text into sequential images.
Oh, wow. So the impact statement is reduced to the absolute minimum information required to just jog the creator's memory.
Right. It points to a visual thinker who's moving concepts from raw text into, like, a storyboard format.
But wait, it gets better. What starts as this morning brain dump at 5:43 a.m. actually mutates, because 14 hours later at 7:20 p.m., they reply to that exact same email thread.
And the reply is just as cryptic, right?
Yes, the entire message is just JJ23, lowercase. So we're looking at live version control happening right in an inbox. JJ22 evolves into JJ23.
I love that. This is a perfect example of how our brains use what we might call mental zip files.
Mental zip files. I like that phrase.
Yeah, because the author doesn't need to explain to themselves what JJ22 or JJ23 actually means, nor do they need to draft the full narrative of the impact statement in the email itself.
Right, because they already know the shorthand acts as a kind of cryptographic key.
Exactly. When they see pick arrow, pick, or JJ23, it triggers a full download of the context they already hold in their head.
It heavily relies on state-dependent memory, though, right?
Yeah.
Like, you have to trust that the you who opens the email at 7:20 p.m. still holds the exact same mental context as the you who wrote it at 5:43 a.m.
That is the risk, yeah. But it saves massive amounts of time because you aren't translating your complex thoughts into formal grammar. You're just leaving a cognitive trigger.
Because translating concepts into formal language takes, well, a ton of mental energy.
Yeah, absolutely. A significant amount. By skipping the grammar and formatting, you preserve that energy for the actual work of building the presentation or designing the visual assets.
So you basically become your own most efficient and honestly most cryptic communicator.
That's the perfect way to put it, yes.
Well, to wrap things up, we've traced how a few seemingly random keystrokes, JJ23 and pick arrow pick, act as this hyper-efficient communication loop.
It really shows how personal productivity naturally sheds all those decorative elements of language when raw speed is the ultimate goal.
It really does. So what does this all mean for you listening? I want to leave you with this to ponder. If a complete stranger were to crack open your digital notes to self tomorrow, what kind of bizarre shorthand would they have to decipher?
That is a terrifying thought for some people, I'm sure.
Seriously. And what does your own private, messy digital language reveal about how your mind organizes the world?